Kewin Lorenzen, cave diver and friend of the Caribbean reef sharks, trained and mentored by Cristina Zenato. So let's dive in and hear what it's like to be a cave diver.
When I got here with Cristina, we basically ended up, after all the changed plans, we ended up doing side mount. I did advanced nitrox with her. I did decompression procedures, and then I did the full cave. And then ended up being kind of a mentor for me. So as I was progressing through my dives and, getting experience, and when I was ready, she would be there and say, okay, let's add this. And then we would add another level onto my training.
So cave diving would scare quite a lot of people, as do sharks, because if they're, if all they see is what they hear on telly and things like that, they're going to be scared of sharks, I suppose. You say that diving is it's like a landscape. A cave dive is like a landscape under a landscape.
Yes.
What made you think of that? Where does that come?
So it is true that a lot of people are scared of cave diving and sharks. When I told my family and friends that I was, going to the Bahamas to do those things, they were kind of looking at me like I was crazy. But yeah, I say that because it was all decorated during the Ice Age when the water level was 400 feet lower here in the Bahamas, and all the decorations down there, they were just created drop by drop and mineral by mineral, basically. Yeah. Stunning. And it's just different decorations, and they're all unique, and it's just a place of wonder. You go there and you wonder, where does it go, and what secret is laying here.
Yeah, it must be incredible.
Is it eerie going into a cave complex like that, where it's just, potentially you could find areas that have never been, nobody's been there before? Do you find it eerie?
Sometimes it can be, yes. Me and Cristina, a while back, we found a potential hole that could be a cave. It was a hole filled with water, and we basically, when we had to go there, and it's kind of like a very long walk to get to the hole, and it was over all these sharp rocks, and there was vines catching your feet and filled with mosquitoes. And once we finally got to this hole, when you looked in the hole, it was just a big black hole. It was completely black. And when you're standing there, your mind kind of, starts playing tricks on you. Like maybe there's a creature down there no one knows about.
Right.
Yeah, it kind of starts, playing, like your mind is kind of like, But then when you get in the water and you look down, then you realize, it's just my mind. It's all good. But then this particular place, it had a lot of hydrogen sulfide, so it was completely black. So when I was upright in the water looking down, I could barely see my feet. So then again, it's a little bit, but then when you go through the layers, you're like, oh, okay. And then as soon as you see what's down there, it all.
Do you ever do that thing where you suddenly just look at Cristina and go, what was that?
Yes, sometimes that happens.
Just this is a joke or something like that, or,
Yes.
I think I probably would have done until.
Well, I'm sure you would have done.
What would be your favourite cave complex?
Yes, I do. My favorite one is Ben's Cave. It is a pretty amazing system. It has a lot of different areas. It has black areas, it has white areas, it has orange areas, highly decorated. In the back of the system, there's like huge tunnels. There's like flowstone covering the walls. It looks like a waterfall frozen in time of calcite, and that's a truly amazing system.
Have you got a best cave dive or a most memorable cave dive? Is there anything that kind of really is at the pinnacle at the moment?
Yes, there is one that's very memorable that I will probably never forget. Me and Cristina, we did an exploration dive in a cave called Anaconda Swamp. She had been there, I think she talked about as well. She had been there, 10 years ago, where they didn't go that far into the system. Mm-hmm. And when we went there, we managed to go further in, and she was in front of me. She was doing the exploration. I was behind her with the survey, and I was surveying. We were going in, and as we were going in, and I was looking, next to the line, and there was just this waterfall of bones. It was all like, it was a full croc. We knew there was a skeleton that Cristina had found 10 years earlier, but when I saw this, it was just all the bones, the vertebrae and teeth, and just everything that I will never.
That must have been a weird experience, especially underwater as well.
Yes, and also because the crocs are extinct here and has been for many, many years, and it's just amazing to see them down there completely preserved and just all there.
Wow. Yeah. Have you been in any other cave systems around the world, or is it just in the Bahamas where you've done cave diving?
I've done a couple of dives in North Florida as well, in cave country, and some of the caves there, which are very different than the caves here. In Florida, they have flow, so you're swimming in against the flow, and then the flow takes you out. The caves there are not decorated like ours are. It's more big tunnels.
And we've obviously covered your technical ability sort of as diving. Have you got any other qualifications that you can do or want to do to take you further into sort of technical diving?
Yes, I would like to become, I mean, there's always, opportunity to grow and become better. I would like to become a cave instructor in the future and share this place with other people and make them fall in love with it like I did. Trimix is another thing I would like to do, but right now it doesn't make much sense for me to do because I don't really need it right now. But if I ever do, I would like to do that.
Have you got any advice for people that, obviously they've been recreational divers, they've done their advanced? What's your kind of opinion of them taking their diving experience or qualifications further? Would you say go for it or give it?
Yes, I would definitely say go for it for sure.
Yeah, did you find it very difficult, or were you kind of quite set in it, thinking I'm going to do this and get through it?
So for me, the cave course was very challenging. I was already an instructor at that point, and I thought I had good buoyancy. But good buoyancy in open water and cave diving is two very different things. So for me, it was very hard. I was in a new side mount configuration as well. So we carried the tanks on the side, and it was very challenging. And at a certain point, I basically said to Cristina after we surfaced from a dive, I said, I don't think I'm good enough to do this because I already fallen in love with the place and I was afraid that I would destroy it. So I was kind of like, I'm not good enough for this. And Cristina was like, you know what, I'm the instructor. And if I didn't think you were good enough, you wouldn't be here. So I kept working, and I finished the course. And then after the certification, I started doing, small dives, and I did just simple dives up the main line. And then on the way out, I would practice some of the skills. I would practice laying the reel, putting in jumps and things like that, and then slowly progress and just gain experience. And then once I became better, then we could add the new tools. And Cristina was, like I said, the mentor that helped me put on the new tools, get better when I was ready for it.
Yeah, she sounds like a great teacher.
Yes, it's a very unique situation, and I'm very lucky that I have that opportunity that she can mentor me through some of this. And she has immense, knowledge about these systems here and just caves in general. So
it's incredible.
So your deepest cave completed? How deep is your deepest dive?
So that one was Anaconda Swamp. It goes to 58 meters, so it bottoms out. Yeah. But it's the most challenging was actually a dive we did in Ben's Cave. It was a survey dive to the back of the cave, which is a 4-hour swim.
Wow.
Where you're constantly swimming. And I would rather do, a shallow dive where you actually have more bottom time, more time to see the things down there. And let's face it, I mean, if you do a deep dive, you have a lot of deco. Deco is not the funniest thing to do. It's kind of boring to just sit there.
Got some really good photos. Is that something you've learned and picked up as you've gone on, or you've been on a course to do that?
It kind of came with the job. So I learned on the job, and then as I was doing it, I kind of loved doing it. And then, when you love something, you spend more time on it and you try to get better. And I've come to really enjoy it.
Do you look back on your previous engineering, electronics kind of world and think, how did you even get here?
Yes, I do. But yeah, I kind of find my right calling a little bit later, did the other things. But then by doing all the electronics, it also gave me a lot of tools that I can take with me into this world and that I can apply to what I'm doing now. So in a certain way, I'm very happy that I have that electronics background because it have helped me a lot in what I'm doing now.
Well, once you've got like an engineering mind, you can apply those sort of thinking to some of the tech, especially with tech.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the engineer mind really helps. Like,
yeah, that's good. At least you can fix your own equipment and you've not got to send them off or rely on somebody else to fix them. And
I'm also a Scuba Pro technician, so I can service the regulators, which is also something I really like to do. And that's like the reason why I got into electronics in the first place was because I always loved to do something with my hands and to create something. And there's nothing better than to get something that's broken and fix it and it's suddenly working again.
Yeah.
So that's another part I love about the regulators as well, to service them.
It is, and especially where you live, you don't spend all your time traveling about to have stuff repaired. It's cost effective if you can do it yourself, and plus it's a great way of understanding how it all works.
And also living here in the Bahamas, it's very hard to ship anything out to get it serviced and get it back. It's very pricey to do that, and it also takes a lot of time before it's going to come back to you.
Yeah, I bet. Scariest moment. So, you've done some really deep dives, and you just told us about your rebreather that had gone wrong the other day. Has there ever been a moment you thought, blimey, that was a close one? And
I haven't really had like close calls, but I had moments where your heart rate starts going up and you're like, oh no. And like I had when sometimes we do the survey, you're going in with the Nemo, the survey tool we have, and some places of the caves have very fragile ceilings. So when you exhale your bubbles, the ceiling starts raining on you. And sometimes when you go in with the Nemo, you spend a little bit more time because you're doing the survey. And then suddenly sometimes that happened where a big piece fell down and hit your leg, and you're there by yourself, and you're kind of like, what was that? And then you got a small piece of the ceiling, it's fine. But it gives you just for a second, you're like, oh no, that didn't happen.
Yeah, it must be quite scary. Is it scary being on your own in a cave?
No, I don't think it is. I don't think about it like that because I know I have the training and I have the tools to deal with whatever is going to come. One of the things that Cristina teaches a lot is muscle memory. So if something goes wrong, because you've practiced this so many times, so if something goes wrong, you just have, without even thinking about it, you just react to it and then you make your way out. So
is it much like noise pollution down there?
With the rebreather now, it's completely silent, which is very peaceful to be down there. Some of the caves are actually going under the road. So if you are in that section and a car passes over, then it's a little bit scary. The car comes over because it really roars. It's like a freight train coming over you. It sounds
really?
Like. Yeah.
Because noise travels a lot more in the water, doesn't it? So.
And some of the caves are like right under the road, so you're only maybe less than 10 meters under the road, and the car comes. That's a little bit.
So you're involved with the People of the Water, which is a non-profit organisation dedicated to the change people's relationship with our aquatic world through exploration, education and content. Founded by Cristina Zenato, a recognised diver who has spent 25 years living and working in the Bahamas, contributing to major projects to oceans, sharks and caves. Aims are to widen the conduction of training, education and research and studies relating to water, ocean and environmental issues affecting both the people and animals in the said environment. So, how did you get involved, and what's your involvement in the People of the Water organisation?
So People of the Water, I with the mentorship with Cristina, we started when she started the nonprofit. I was there and became a team member, volunteer my time to help with all the research and the studies, especially in the caves. Once she founded, we really started with the cave surveys. We had the Nemo. She actually acquired it on a Nat Geo shoot. And Sebastian Keister, the guy that made it, is absolutely brilliant. And she had it, and she said, "Oh, we were talking about starting survey of some of the caves because they were actually in danger of development." And she was, if I was interested in helping, and of course I was. And she basically gave me the Nemo and said, you can start practicing and figure out how to use it.
What is the Nemo?
So the Nemo is a survey tool created by Sebastian Keister. And it basically works that you can clip it onto the cave line inside the caves, the line that we follow. And you basically press a button and it starts. And once it starts, it's taking the azimuth, it's taking the depth. And then once you start running it along the line, it basically measures the distance. There's a small wheel inside that have a sensor, and then every time the wheel passes a certain distance, it counts the distance, and then you just run it across the reel and the line, and then it collects how long the length of that line. And then once you reach another turn, you stop it, and then it calculates again the depth there and the azimuth. And then once you get home, you put it into the program called Ariane's line, and then you'll basically see the map, how it unfolds. And then you can overlay Google Earth and things like that and see where it actually goes exactly on land. And that's what's going to help us protecting the whole system and make sure that they don't develop on top of it and basically damage the system and the freshwater reservoir that's there.
Is that a widely known piece of kit then? That cave divers in this country could use or do use?
It is becoming, the Nemo is becoming more and more popular in the cave diving communities, and it's very affordable device to get, and it's small. I mean, you can operate it with one hand, so it's very efficient. One person can go with it and do a lot of work in one dive. It's very cost efficient as well, so it's a really amazing tool to have.
And then that links in, as you said, with Google Earth. So once you put that in, you can see exactly where the cave systems go, and then that gets fed into planning and things like that, as you say, for buildings.
Yeah, so we can try to protect that land, the whole cave, and not just the entrance, because we want to protect the whole system and make sure that people don't develop, because if they start developing on top of the cave system itself, it's going to all the pollutant is going to run through the ground into the cave and pollute the whole system. So it's not enough to just protect the entrance. We have to protect the whole system. And then I'm also writing blogs for them. Right now, we have plenty of time to do that, trying to grow a little bit so we can, continue with projects and more projects. We also do a lot of work with the sharks.
We'll obviously share like the social media links to the people of the water, but is there anything that you'd like to say to like the podcast listeners about people of the water, or tell them where they can go or what they can do to kind of further the cause?
Yes, they can go on the People of the Water's website, pownonprofit.org, and they can also go on Christina's social medias or mine and see what we're up to, or People of the Water social medias. They can follow what we're doing on the website. They can also read about some of the projects we have done that we are working on. We have quite a few ongoing projects, so they can always follow there. We are working on surveying the caves, and we have a big project that we're doing, working on mapping all the caves on the island. Many of them are known that they're there, but no one really knows where they go, or there's no data of where they go. And then there's places that might be a cave, but it's maybe collapsed and there's no way to go through the system, and we're also going to document that. So that's some of the things we're working on. We're working on interactive maps of all of Ben's cave. It's right now the project really tackling, which is a map that allows non-divers or divers or anyone basically that visits the park. The plan is to have a big screen at the park. There's going to be basically a video, and it's going to be a touch screen when you can the cave itself, all the lines the map is going to be there, and then it's going to be dots on the line, and people can basically come and click on a dot. A video will open up, and it's going to be the video swimming down exactly that spot where they touched. The dot will be moving, and you can see where you're swimming, and it will just be the video of as they were there themselves. So that is completely new technology that's actually we're beta testing it, so it's never been done before. So that's very exciting that we're part of that.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's a bit like Street View. So I suppose you're on a street and you can travel down the tunnel.
And can you name up to 3 people, past or present, who you would choose to either dive or snorkel with? So they don't have to be divers. They can be just regular people from history or people you know. And you can take them diving or you can take them snorkeling. Can you give us 3 people who you would choose to go with?
Yes. So the first one would be Sheik, actually. He was a famous explorer, the forefather of cave training. As the first one to start, implementing some of the rules that we follow so it would be safer to the cave divers. He was a truly amazing, person for his time as well. And the beginning and the things that he did with the equipment available at that time was truly amazing. Unfortunately, that's not going to be possible anymore. He passed away, but I would definitely love to.
Yeah, good choice.
And the second one would be Rob Palmer, because he did so much exploration of the caves here in the Bahamas in the 70s and 80s. And again, what they accomplished with the gear at the time was pretty impressive. So I would have loved to been able to dive with them and see how they did it.
Yeah.
And the last one I would say is Bob Dylan. Because
really?
who would want to spend time with Bob Dylan?
Yeah, excellent answer.
No, Bob Dylan had a way with words that was pretty amazing, I think. So I would like to show him the place down there and have him describe it.
So final question for you then. If you could put something on a billboard, metaphorically speaking, non-commercial, whether it be a statement, image, a question, even a quote, something to get something out there to the billions of people, a message, what would be that thing? Anything in mind?
Yeah, so I would put up one of Christina's quotes that she actually is using, which is water flows through every aspect of our lives. Following that flow makes us realize that everything is vitally interconnected. And, it just shows how I want to make people think about how important the fresh water actually is and how important it is to preserve it. So that is one of the things I put out there.
It just is very understandable to every person in every walk of life.
It is, and it's a timely thing, isn't it? Where we find ourselves, and we're all thinking about the environment and how we are. So I think it's a good answer, and very good.
Yeah, there's just one other question. Number 5 was, what's your favourite marine animal?
My favorite marine animal, it's gonna be the sharks. I just love spending time in water with them to watch them, and there's so many different species, so you can never get tired of them.
Yeah, by the time you work through all those species. Yeah, no, that's really good. Oh, well, that's great. Thank you for those, answering all those questions. That's really...
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's great. And thank you for your time. You can tell your passion, for the cave diving and the sharks as well. It's great.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to talk.
Great. Okay.
Well, stay safe.
For having me.
Say hi to Christina for us.
I will do.
Great.
Sounds good.
See you again.
Right,
Thank you.
you.
Thanks so much. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and share. You can also visit our podcast version, the BiG Scuba Podcast, details below. You can now support both of our channels at Patreon, and details are also in the description box.